Okay, my name is Alan Fagan, and I manage the North American team for EPS Global. We're a value-added distributor specializing in open networking solutions. I'm joined today by Jack Rayner of the Telecom Infra Project and Andrew Westerman of IO by HFCL, and we're going to talk about Open Wi-Fi. Right off the bat, let's dispel some of the myths that float around about Open Wi-Fi. While I was preparing for this podcast, looking for some inspiration, I asked Google's AI tool, Bard, to give me some good questions that I could ask about Open Wi-Fi. And it spat out this description. Open Wi-Fi is a type of wireless network that is open to anyone who wants to use it. This means that there is no need to log in or provide any credentials in order to connect to the network. And that is absolutely not what Open Wi-Fi is and what we're going to talk about today. So, Jack, you're the co-chair of the Open Converged Wireless Project Group in TIP. Now, that's a bit of a mouthful. Can you give us an overview of what this project group does, what your role is, and what Open Wi-Fi actually is?
Sure, thanks, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here. As you mentioned, my name is Jack Rayner. I'm a senior technology consultant at Meta, and I'm co-chair of the TIP Open Wi-Fi project. Unlike the response that you've gotten from Bard, which we get a lot of questions. I work very hard on awareness and recognition of exactly what Open Wi-Fi is. Open Wi-Fi does not, in fact, mean the network is open and non-secure. In fact, we work very hard on security to make sure that we support all the industry standards from a security perspective. But what Open Wi-Fi is, it's a community-developed, open and disaggregated Wi-Fi platform. What does that mean? It consists of two pieces of software, an APNOS firmware that's based off of OpenWRT, and a cloud SDK management and control plane.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jack. So, Andrew, you're the VP of International Sales for IO by HFCL. Can you tell us a little bit about HFCL and how you fit into the Open Wi-Fi ecosystem?
Yeah, thanks, Alan. And likewise, thank you for asking me to join. It's a pleasure to be here. So, HFCL is a very large Indian company. Extremely well known in the Indian market and now expanding internationally under the IO by HFCL brand. And we're one of the very big backers of the Open Wi-Fi initiative, and that we make a range of Wi-Fi access points, both indoor and outdoor, and we make all our APs available with the Open Wi-Fi firmware. So we're not only an access point manufacturer, we're also a controller manufacturer, in that we also offer a Wi-Fi controller in Open Wi-Fi format to the market. And we're one of the clue is in the name, Open Wi-Fi. We're one of a number of vendors that participate in the Open Wi-Fi initiative. And really what it means is that for you as a Wi-Fi user and a Wi-Fi provider, it really is truly open, in that you have openness on the controller side, you have openness on the access point side, and you can either go with one Open Wi-Fi manufacturer or a number of Open Wi-Fi manufacturers. It really is an open initiative, and we're a major backer of that, and we will fully support that moving forwards.
So it's very analogous to the open networking philosophy then of using whatever hardware you want and then using the software, really disaggregating the hardware and software. So in discussions I've had about Open Wi-Fi, one word that has repeatedly come up is transformative. And Jack, I'll ask you this: is Open Wi-Fi transformative? And if it is, how is it transformative?
Yeah, I think I'd say the software itself is not necessarily transformative. It's APNOS firmware, and there's a lot of those out there, and it's a management and control plane, and there's a lot of those out there. What I think is transformative is the model of the community. Wi-Fi is constantly improving. We've seen Wi-Fi 6, 6E, and now 7 being released within just a few years. This model is evolutionary for service provider industry. In the traditional model, and even still, most service providers need to pick basically one vendor and stick with them. Once they deploy at a certain scale, it's very difficult to move off of that platform. So I think what the Open Wi-Fi community model does, it gives service providers two critical advantages over the existing way things work. First is choice. So since we're completely disaggregated at both the access point and management layers, operators are never locked in. So they can choose their hardware maker, they can choose their software control plane maker, and they are not locked into either of those ecosystems. The second advantage is it gives them a direct seat at the table. So we're an open community, so operators can directly participate. They can communicate their requirements. They can communicate feedback on issues they're having in the field, and they can influence directly and get their features that they need to market quickly.
Great, thanks, Jack. And you may have answered some of this question in your previous answer, but I want to talk a little bit about the mission of the Telecom Infra Project, right? And it's to deploy open, disaggregated, and standards-based solutions that deliver the high-quality connectivity that the world needs now and in the decades to come. So, how does your group, Open Wi-Fi, contribute to this mission?
Yeah, I think that is probably the most important thing we do. We have in our community, especially where I work, we have fundamental beliefs in our principles, and the principles that of being open. So all community members have an equal opportunity to participate. We don't block anyone out. Being disaggregated, so there's never vendor lock-in, again, at any layer. Being diverse, that means diverse from a community perspective. So ODMs, OEMs, software, value-added software, MSPs, large service providers. So anyone can join the community. We're very diverse from that perspective. We're diverse geographically. We deploy, in every geographic region. And we're diverse from a vertical standpoint. We work across all verticals, from carpeted offices to venues to public spaces and hospitality areas. So I think, and because of that, we get to serve the underserved. We get the opportunity to deploy communications capabilities where it doesn't exist now, and it's very important to us.
Great, thanks, Jack. You mentioned vendor lock-in and supply chain diversity, and at EPS Global, we've been involved in network infrastructure for decades now, and we're increasingly seeing a pushback against that vendor lock-in and the lack of supply chain diversity. And I think something that's becoming more and more an issue is not just supply chain diversity, but geographic supplier diversity. And Andrew, I'd like you to talk a little bit about that and how Open Wi-Fi and HFCL can aid in creating that sort of geographic supplier diversity.
Yeah, for sure. HFCL, as we said earlier, it's an Indian company, and India is fast emerging, as the major alternative location for manufacturing compared to where China was. And if you go back a couple of years, it really didn't matter what vendor you bought. All access points were manufactured in China. And particularly in the COVID era, that became a huge problem for providers, where not only were they locked into a particular manufacturer, they were also locked into a particular location where all the APs were manufactured and shipped from. And that created huge problems in terms of lack of supply. HFCL is a very large Indian company. We have our own factories inside of India. And we're not only offering open Wi-Fi, we're offering geographic diversity in terms of supply. And also there's a different politics. We hear lots of stuff on the news about Chinese orientated products. No one really knows where that's heading. But we're just offering customers a different alternative in that you can also get products which are manufactured in India as well, and they're open Wi-Fi compliant, and it just gives you another option in the bigger picture.
Right, thanks, Andrew. So, where are you currently seeing success with open Wi-Fi, Jack? And where do you expect to see future success?
Yeah, I think the initial success we've seen are primarily in the hospitality and MDU verticals. I think they maybe have they're more nimble. They're easier to upgrade, easier to swap out. I think in the future. The future is probably bright, and just to tag on to the diversity that I was talking about before, and to tag on to what Andrew was just talking about. When you open up ecosystems like OpenWiFi and you unlock new manufacturing regionally, it really opens up new opportunities that no one ever thought of before. When everything's manufactured in the same place by the same people, invariably you get the same form factors. You get, it becomes kind of a monotonous supply chain there. I've seen and worked with a lot of new innovative community members recently that are coming up with really creative models for the hardware and the deployments, and coming up with more creative ways to deploy without truck rolls. And so, I think I don't even know what the future holds, because I think, again, we're so diverse and there's so many great ideas here. I do think obviously Wi-Fi 7 is going to be a big thing. I think convergence technologies are going to be a big thing. AI on the management plane, AI ops is going to be a huge thing that kind of takes over the world probably over the next decade or so. I think we'll deploy into different verticals like venues and things like that. But I think that
you got to teach those AI tools what Open Wi-Fi is. We got to start there, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'll get on that.
That's great. So, the other side of that coin then, Jack, is, what are the challenges that you see to the Open Wi-Fi approach? And, are there issues around it that keep you awake at night?
Yeah, so I think, I think the things that might keep me awake at night are the normal things that, keep regular businesses, technical businesses awake: growing the community, enhancing the software, fixing bugs, ensuring community members are satisfied, all the normal things. I think, Open Wi-Fi is not, it's not the silver bullet. It's not going to solve every problem instantly. There are obviously challenges to the approach. I think the main challenge is that it's a technical software stack, so there's a little bit of a learning curve there. If you want to come in and kind of develop your own hardware, you have to learn about the tools and the processes of the software and how to apply it to your hardware. If you're a management company, you need to do the same. I think with those challenges, though, we've built a really strong core ecosystem of suppliers that can help you overcome, those initial hurdles. So it's not all challenges, but, obviously it's a technical stack, so you need to learn it.
I think that's the key message. Sorry, Andrew. I was just going to say, I think that's the key message, Jack, right? That there is help out there available, exactly. Right? That you're not on your own. Sorry, Andrew, for cutting across.
Yeah, just the thing I was going to add to that is customer acceptance. When they hear the word open, I think there's a feeling initially, especially in the early days, that this was developed by, a clever software guy in his back garage, and it wasn't that stable. The reality couldn't be more different. The TIP labs are very advanced. You've got a very strong community of guys. The feature set is very comparable now, to the mainstream incumbent vendors, and it really has reached a point where it's a very viable alternative. And I think the only challenge has been people's acceptance of that. And what we're seeing, though, increasingly is more and more customers, particularly after they've trialed it, are willing to take the leap. And we've had a major win recently with a very large global enterprise where they're actually switching from an extremely well-known incumbent non-open Wi-Fi vendor, and they're making that jump to the open Wi-Fi environment. And that really has been a major vote of confidence.
Yeah, thank you. That's a point that I really didn't get to drive home, is that my quote that I normally say when I'm asked is, this is not your father's open source software. This is a commercial grade enterprise class platform that is hardened by people who understand this industry, and we have a very sophisticated quality lab where we have a set of 5,000 plus now test cases and climbing. Over 90% of those test cases are automated. So when this software comes to production, it's ready for deployment.
Great. So Andrew, you talked about HFCL and being a very large Indian company, right? And that you guys are putting a lot of time and effort into OpenWiFi. So how do you view it from a long-term perspective?
From a long-term perspective, it's an initiative that we're very committed to. Whenever we develop an access point, we make it available in OpenWiFi firmware. We're currently at Wi-Fi 6. We're going to be launching Wi-Fi 7 by the end of the year. And the same logic is going to apply across all our access points and indeed our controller. We're a little bit unusual within the community in that we are a provider of access points and controller. So you do have the option of going with IO in terms of a fully open Wi-Fi network, or you can mix and match it with other vendors. And we've got instances of both. And I can vouch for the fact that it all works very well. And if you put yourself in the customer's shoes, you're moving from a world where, as Jack was saying earlier, you have to pick your vendor. You're pretty much locked in at that point, and actually changing is very difficult. If you go down the open Wi-Fi route, you're not locking yourself into anything. You're picking a vendor or a set of vendors in the beginning, and you remain totally flexible throughout your the lifetime of your network, and you're never going to be locked into any single manufacturer. And as a company, we believe in that. We're backing the Open Wi-Fi initiative. We think the opportunity is going to get very large ultimately, and we see major markets like North America, the MDU, the hospitality market, Africa as a continent, I think has huge opportunities with Open Wi-Fi. And I think the developing world in general has huge opportunities with Open Wi-Fi. And as well as the flexibility, the actual cost of deployment and operation is also hugely lower compared to your more well-known incumbents. And as I say, if I was trying to put myself in the customer shoes, and for me, it would be a no-brainer, because I've seen the quality of the equipment, the cost levels, the software. It really does add up now.
Great, thanks, Andrew.
I would agree. I think it's a matter of time. I think every point that Andrew hit on is good. I think we have the quality. Again, it's enterprise class and commercial grade. I think it's just a matter of time and people to try it and understand what it's all about, and build confidence in it. And I think it'll take on a life of its own.
Right. So, over the last few years, we at EPS Global, we've worked with TIP, and we've worked with our partners, IP Infusion, EdgeCore, UbiSpace, to implement solutions for service providers globally. So these are providers who've already embraced open networking. So what does OpenWiFi offer these service providers, and how can it help them to further embrace open networking? And I'll throw that to Jack first.
Yeah, I think it offers them flexibility. I think it offers them a seat at the table and a voice. I think it offers them the ability to do cost savings. I think it offers them supplier diversity. All of the things that we've mentioned already. Because there are such strong community members like IO by HFCL. I don't think there's much negative in it. I think there's only advantages for service providers.
Great. Andrew, anything to add to that?
Yeah, and the only thing I would say is, the open networking has been more established in the IT switching and networking space for some time. And, if you look at many enterprises and companies who deployed that, they had that open environment in the sort of IT and networking space, but then it connected to a non-open environment in the Wi-Fi space.
Yeah.
It's a natural next step now to kind of extend that open approach to the edge of the network and into the Wi-Fi space. And we think this is a logical next step, for large enterprise, ISPs, service providers to take that step.
Agreed.
Along that, if I could just add, we're this community, because of the way it works, because the community members can develop ideas of their own and cultivate those ideas. We are working on a project for a campus switch, a PoE power switch that's open and works with the same control plane as our access points. And so you can already see where this is going. We're going to try to own the entire enterprise network.
Right. So thank you, Jack and Andrew, for your participation. And I just want to check to see if there's anything that either of you would like to add, before we wrap up.
I just want to thank Andrew. IO by HFCL is one of our most prized community members. They work in so many different areas, and like Andrew said, they are making hardware. They're making software. They offer us geographic redundancy and diversity, and we really do appreciate them and the contributions they make to the community.
Yeah, and just to sum up for me, likewise, thank you to both. We're happy to be working with both TIP and EPS. I think the TIP organization is very strong, and it's a great framework for this to sit in. And at the end of the day, we're hoping to deploy a lot of these open Wi-Fi networks. So we're very happy to be working with EPS Global. It really is starting to become a global discussion now, between us. And hopefully we look forward to deploying a lot of open Wi-Fi around the world, between us.
Yeah, if I could add, it's really this discussion with one of our major community members and a global supplier like EPS Global is a testament to where we've come, because we're at the next step where we have the software, we have sufficient demand in the market, and now we're trying to build global supply chains around it. So that's kind of that just shows you right there where we've come.
Yeah, I think that the combination of the three of us is a very powerful one, and I really appreciate the support and your participation today. I just want to wrap it up, wrap up the discussion and talk about open Wi-Fi and the combination of deployment savings and automation-driven operational savings brings significant reduction in total cost of ownership over the current proprietary solutions. The diverse multi-vendor selection of cloud controllers and access points brings service providers choice and flexibility in enterprise-grade Wi-Fi infrastructure. And at EPS Global, we have hardware from HFCL ready to deploy. We have the relationship with TIP. We have relationships with multiple software partners and the ability to put this hardware and software together to create open Wi-Fi solutions for you. Please reach out to us if you're interested in finding out more. And with that, I'll say thank you and goodbye.